just what? Listen, Mack here. He's fascinated. I'm also fascinated. You know what? I've been psyched about, like, trying to not get up into my head about what I was gonna open with. But you know, it's weird. I've had this new thing where if I said who's gonna be on, I don't really have to give a crazy big information about who they are and what they do, because if the people saw their name in the description, or if they saw the description of the episode, screw it, let's start all over again. Oh, dude. Mack.
Yes, sir.
I've been looking forward to this, man. I've been looking forward to hanging with you. What's cool about it is I appreciate how much you had an interest in what I'm doing, and like I was saying to you just a minute ago off the air, and I just feel like it's a lot of trees falling in the woods for me. So, so I appreciate you having an interest.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. I have so many questions about your show too, man. I want to know about the origins. I hope it doesn't turn it. I hope I don't flip it too much, because I love to interview.
Well, I want to make sure I let you know. You can't do that.
Okay.
This is my show. No, I'm kidding. You can do whatever you want. Please feel free to absolutely ask me anything or say anything you want. I want to make sure you feel as welcome and safe and appreciated as possible, because really it is. This is something to me. Well, shoot, there's a fly in here. I have ADD, but it's something to me that's very, like, you might have heard me say this before, but the amount of currency wrapped up in the effort that you've spent on me, the currency is in the time and the attention and the effort, and the fact that not only have you carved out time already to review on your podcast, this podcast, but the fact that now you decided that you're cool with having a conversation with me and joining me on this podcast, and maybe giving me a little bit of rub from your audience. So, on the record, thank you. I appreciate you. I look forward to us becoming good friends.
Same here, man.
And I can feel the friend vibes real hard.
I'm happy to be here, because I've been, honestly, when you I think you submit, I don't know how long ago it was that you submitted, but I remember reviewing your show and listening to it. I remember just being completely, what's even happening? I hear a snap, I hear drums, and he's singing a little song. And I remember going back, and I usually listen to a show before. And man, I don't know what it is about your show. And I don't even know what you're doing. Like, what's your end game? Maybe there is no end game. I can't stop listening, dude. And you're such an entertainer with this, man. I love it.
I think it's a little bit of an ego thing. I think it's a little bit of a legacy thing. Like, whether or not I get a huge audience, which I hope to, I would like at some point for, and a lot of people have reached out to me, and I really appreciate everybody who said anything to me about how, like, the shit that I've had to say, or like the conversations that I'm willing to have with people has changed their outlook on things. If it could do that for one person, if just one person can have their outlook change. And I just borrowed that from you real quick. If just one listen comes, one person goes, oh man, you know what? I'm going to really invest the currency of my time and my attention and my effort, because if they're not only doing that, like the call to action, of course, call to action. It's like, hey, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow, like all that stuff. That to me doesn't feel as sincere and as genuine as me, like, going, let's learn everything we can learn in the amount of time we've got to learn it.
Yeah.
And grow. And like you even said in the podcast, and I'm taking this opportunity to answer the question you asked of me on your podcast that I wasn't actually even on. But the reason I call it Evolving with Corey Castle is mostly because it's like, it's not just because I host it. It's because you're evolving with me. So if you jump into this journey and then you go, oh man, I wonder what the beginning sounded like. Go back to episode 1. Go back to those episodes and see how much it's changed, how much it's grown, how much I've grown, how much I've changed. I found me through this show. Like I was more in my shell before. I didn't share a lot about myself. A lot of people like,
hold on, you're wrestling.
Right, but those
you
are
in your show.
That's show business. That's
Okay.
that's an act.
Okay.
But like that's not who I truly am. That's not the essence. Like I would show up and be bitter everywhere. I would always be angry. Like, and I'd be like, nobody gets me, nobody pushes me. I don't get the respect that I deserve. Like I would walk around with that because I felt like somehow like I had earned something that I didn't earn. So
wow.
So I had to grow in that by going like finding my humility in the fact that like I'm putting broadcasts out that maybe no one's going to hear, but I know maybe one day when I'm not here anymore, the people who love me the most are going to listen back to this from the start all the way to the end of it, because I don't plan on ever stopping doing this. Because like once you stop evolving, you start dying. So I want to make sure I continue to do this for the rest of my life, because it's a timestamp. It's a timestamp on who I've been and where I'm headed. I mean, like when you go back and watch a news broadcast from 5 years ago, it's kind of, some of it's relevant, some of it's irrelevant, but like it's a timestamp on what that 5 years ago was.
Yeah.
So what the world was and things like that, it just fascinates me. Everything, like the resources that connect everything to everybody else. I want to give a shout out right now to my friend Dylan, who told me about your podcast, and I've been on his podcast. He's a cool dude. His podcast. Oh man, I can't remember the name of his podcast. Sorry, Dylan, but he told me about you. He told me about your podcast, and I just love having the ability to like know that we're connected. That's a resource that connected us.
Wow. Yeah.
So whatever comes from that comes from Dylan. So thank you, Dylan.
Oh, I wish I could tell you about my buddy's podcast. He's doing the stuff you're talking about falls right in line. He'd kill me if I put his idea out there, but he's doing so. I'll follow up with you when he releases his first episode, but he's doing something that falls very much in line with that. It's in terms of like people and their connections like this. What I find fascinating now is, God, man, I got it wrong. Evolving with Corey Castle in my head, it was just like, oh, he's exactly what you're saying. Not necessarily, yes, the host, but you're evolving with me. It's not I'm the host, dude. And I love the idea that from what it sounds like, your motivation is legacy. It's not chasing dollars. It's not like I'm going to be a huge star from this one day.
That would be great. I would love it.
It's icing on the cake, though.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because for sure, I mean, I want to continue to have like big name guests and stuff. Like I've had like big guests in comedy in the comedy world.
Yeah, that guy Mike. I was just watching on with Mike
Kaplan. Yeah.
God,
so I'm very much like, oh, I want to continue to have it to be where, okay, I know right now, my name isn't as much of anything. I'm not a draw anywhere. So like, I don't have a big social media following. So I want people to, at the end of it, go, oh, if I got nothing else, I got a new friend. I got a really cool conversation with a really, really understanding person. And I, you know, I'd hope that would be the end game to it all. And maybe I get the rub here, I get the rub there, and then the next person tells the next person, who tells the next person, who, like, my guest list goes up a bit. And not to say that it's because I don't care about the level of fame that somebody has. Yeah. I care about what kind of quality conversation we can have. Yeah. I care about like having somebody feel seen and heard, which I want to give you the opportunity and the platform to feel welcome and seen and heard.
I do, man. So I've never been this comfortable on an interview. This is fun.
Good.
Sorry, but finish. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I'm done talking about me.
Honestly, I wanted to add to that. I think what you're doing. How long have you been doing this, by the way? I can't remember.
I started doing this podcast in 2017. I started doing my other podcast. I have a wrestling podcast called Rassle Rock, where it's Rassle Rock, and I started doing that 2013 probably.
Wow.
In 2012, we started doing a comedy podcast called Pod Trash that only lasted 13 episodes.
And you don't mess with audio editing software? Come on, man. I got to get you set up, buddy. Or you're trying to keep it simple.
Dude, you know, like sitting in front of a computer makes me sick. Like okay. I get like if I have to, like, my eyesight sucks real bad. So like I have to squint real hard to see stuff. And I get like
I don't blame you.
Typing sucks, mousing sucks. I just dislike
so the move is to get you. I think the move is then we got to get your audience pumped up so you have a little bit of money coming in so you can just fork some cash out and say, hey Steve, cut this piece and move it over here, and then you can just leave it.
Give me a Steve.
Yeah, you need a Steve.
Hey Steve.
Dude, if I didn't have four kids, I would absolutely be your Steve.
hey, Steve, if you're listening, give me a call.
Oh man, that's interesting. I think it's interesting to hear about how you're driven more so by legacy, though, that you're motivated by the growth like that. And we did all right. So my first show that we did that skateboard deck right there was from our first show that we did. And I was nuts about independent artists, period, independent music artists. And my brother-in-law was actually a hip hop artist, and he was a producer at the time. And this is like in 2004, 2003, something like that. And I kept seeing how they would just get hosed by the radio, man. Like they go up and try to get people to play their song, and they wanted money, and they just couldn't. They couldn't pop. And at the time, MySpace was big, and I was passionate about it because I felt like there was just so much music. The more I was digging into MySpace, the more I was talking to my brother and his network, my brother-in-law and all his network and stuff, and just learning, all the artists that he interacted with. There was so much music that nobody knew. And they were being completely blocked by the industry, and it made me crazy. And I was really passionate about having this little secret of like, I got all these people that I know and all this good music, and people should hear this.
It's when it's like that underground level that pops into the mainstream.
Yep.
That there was no pop to the mainstream, and you were like, instead of being like, oh, I like them when they were underground, you were like, they're underground. I like them. I want y'all to like them.
And there was no SoundCloud. There was no Spotify or anything. And so it was interesting that right along that time, Adam Curry was putting out this podcast called Daily Source Code. And we were like, we're going to trying to do this podcast thing. And then it wasn't much longer. I mean, we started doing it where we would have my brother-in-law introduce music, and we play it, and we play it again, and we play it again. And we started getting feedback from people. And stuff just started growing, and it really started taking off, and we did really well. And then we had kids, and then everything kind of went flat. But we really were popping off, man. We did so good, and I think that it got to the point when we started getting, like, I wish I had it. I have it actually in a box right now, but we got a flag from a guy who from Iraq, and he said, I flew this flag over Iraq with your guys' name on it because, I appreciate, he said, because he would, but at the time you couldn't, internet was hard to get on a phone, especially over there. So he'd load up his iPod, take it over to Iraq. And then we had another dude who's like, you guys got me through. I was in my hospital bed, blah, 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 blah. And I was struggling, and you guys kept me laughing, and that was the thing where it was almost like, it's almost like it locked it in. It was like, okay, I want to do this forever because I want to inspire people, and I want to make them, I love this. Like, how do we do this more? And that's when I found out, like, is as long as you find a place, if this for you, even like if you find a place where it's not work for you, it's not work. You just show up and you're like, oh my God, I love doing this. And
well, that video and audio editing stuff feels like work to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the hard part. Yeah.
And I feel like the scheduling, the pay, like I'm losing money out of my pocket to do this.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like, all right, I'm okay with the amount of work I'm already doing.
Yeah.
Yep. So like I have all the enjoyment of the being on the show and doing this personality and being the whatever I am for people. I love being that. I just when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's like as you saw by the fly going by me, I'm very ADD and I get very distracted. So I would not be able to be a good editor.
Right.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It depends. Yeah.
I used to do video editing for like this women's wrestling show, like for their TV, like, and I learned all the Adobe and like I was in on it. I was all the way. That was like what I was doing as my job.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good job. And the guy was like, I'll pay you when I get a big check. And then he just gave me like some shitty computer with all the footage and all the programs and all the software deleted. I'm like, I didn't want a computer. I wanted money.
Yeah. I think this is something that nobody talks about that I mention constantly on my show, man, is nobody tells you, and this is a great point, man, well pointed out, because I think that nobody tells you that let's say if you're like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I've got what it takes to be a pro wrestler. I'm getting into the game. If podcasting were pro wrestling, you would have to not only be the wrestler, you'd have to be the promoter, you'd have to be the manager, you'd have to be the, like, every facet, you'd have to be the accountant, and that's where nobody talks about podcasting. This stuff is hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Hard. We don't get to be the NPR where we're like, we've arrived, hit record. Okay, right, minions, do your thing. Like, it doesn't work that way for people like us, man. We have to work,
Oh, man.
I will say though, dude, sorry, I want to get this out before I forget, because I want to make sure, because for you especially, because you've got magic, man. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, been doing it for a long time. You have got something magic to the way you present and the way you do your show. I can't necessarily make sense of it yet, but you're onto something special, man. And I think that if we should talk more, because I think that there are tools out there that can, and one of the big things you're already doing, which is practice. I think that the tools that automating everything to where you can sit down, hit record, and then when you hit stop, you upload it and walk away, and everything else just goes for you. And the editing and everything, it's creating that machine to do everything for you. And that's hard. That's hard just to get everything in place.
It's a weird thing, is that when you were talking about like get your fan base psyched up about the show and all that stuff. And if I was popular enough, this would be like a Patreon perk, but it isn't. Like the audio podcast is auto scheduled for every single Monday at noon.
Smart.
So every single Monday at noon, a new episode comes out. But that's just the audio. The videos are already all up on YouTube. So like you can follow YouTube and you're months ahead of the audio.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Dude, you're doing that much?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Corey, man, genius. You'll sit down. What do you knock out, like 5 interviews in a week, and you'll schedule them out a week at a time or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, sometimes I'll do 2 in a week. Sometimes I'll do 2 in a day. It really depends on like the availability of who wants to do it, and like if it's somebody who I think is worth doing something with, and it's
got frequency down, man. You're never gonna struggle. That's my number one pet peeve. Nobody gets frequency right. You got the artwork, you got the frequency, you got the personality, man.
It's just it's just I just need some sort of breakout stuff. Like I need breakout. Yeah. Like I need my the thing is, like when I have big name guests, like the one you just mentioned, I'll tweet it. They'll just like it and not retweet it and talk about how important it was and how good it was. Or even if it must make me think, well, they must not have thought that was very good. So it's like I've already gotten the favor from you by getting you to invest this much effort and time.
And you can't ask. Yeah.
I can't. So it's like, how much am I over asking?
Yeah, no. Oh man. This is my favorite. Okay. So back in 2006, you know who the Wu-Tang Clan is?
I'm never heard of them.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm being an asshole.
You're playing the little drum and stuff. I don't know what you're into. If you're just not out into the hip hop, or
I have 2 Wu-Tang shirts.
Okay.
I wore a Wu-Tang shirt in school, and I'll get back to this. In 7th grade, I got called an N-word in school by the white kids.
Wow.
Because I wore a Wu-Tang shirt to school. Yeah. So.
What city and what state are you in?
Pennsylvania.
Okay, I guess. I mean, I'm in Michigan, so I could see it happen in Michigan too.
yeah. Little white kids are assholes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. So you know who okay.
Yeah, I know Wu-Tang. Yes.
We had a first guest who is a guy from a group called the Dog Pound, which not a whole lot of people know. It's one of Snoop Dogg's side groups. And then we had
the Dog Pound right behind him, rolling with his bitches. Where you might find him.
Yes, Dad from the Dog Pound. So, so we had him on, and the only reason we had him on, well, I want to get into that. And then the second guy we had on was this guy, Cool DJ Red Alert, one of the first DJs ever. And he was easy to get because he was like 60 years old, and like he was more than happy to talk about his past. So that made sense. And we were probably about, I don't know, 10 episodes deep at that point. But then we got a publicity request, or not a request, but they send out these mass emails that say, hey, Jizza from the Wu-Tang Clan is open to do an interview. So I worked so hard at making sure my quality was tight on the show that it just worked for us to be able to go to them and say, hey, we would love to interview Jizza. We have a radio show. And they were like, oh, you're on Sirius or something? We're like, oh yeah, Sirius. And we got Jizza on the show. He was a complete asshole, by the way. He was a complete asshole. But he was on the show and talked to him. I didn't talk to him. The host, my brother-in-law, talked to him. Mm-hmm. And the woman who represented him was this woman by the name of Angela Yee. Mm-hmm. And Angela Yee said, we'll only let you interview him if you interview my other artist, this guy from the Bay Area. His name's Killer Clump. Mm-hmm.
Was he nutty?
No, man. He
wasn't a professor. He wasn't nutty.
No, he wasn't one of the Clump family. No, he was a heavy set white guy from the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And dude, he was horrible. But we interviewed him and we promoted the hell out of him, and we got the Jizza interview. And then at this point, I'm getting emails saying we suck or whatever. This is nerd stuff. It was that interview. You're talking about the moment of popping. There's where I was getting to. It was that interview where I get an email from, I'll never forget her name, this woman, Bethany Mezek from Spin Magazine. And I got it up on my wall, the Spin Magazine right there. Okay. She said, hey, I want to feature your show in Spin. And I was like, shut up. Right. And I called her and I was like, are you who you say you are? Yes. And it was after Spin, it was done. Like we were getting features in iTunes and everything. And you're 100% right. I think the key is, though, the key point here is that we had to do a favor for a favor, which seemed really lame. Like it feels dirty to do that. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't believe in the original artist we were talking to. Right. He was a clump of shit. Yeah, exactly. But then fast forward even, I don't know, 3 years, Angela Yee became a radio show host on Shade 45 for the Breakfast Club, or not Breakfast Club, but for this show on Shade 45. Mm-hmm. And hey, picked up the phone. Hey, you remember me? can we feature, we're going to do like a contest for independent artists. Can we do a feature on your show? And she's talking about our show on Shade 45 on Sirius. And it was just that one interview was like the bomb that set off where it was just, so I think what you're doing is smart, because over time, it only takes a minute for, and Jizza never liked no celebrities liked our stuff. No celebrities retweeted, no celebrities Instagram, nothing. It was always one of those things where it was somebody else noticed. So like if you took your interview with Mike Kaplan and said, who would be interested in this? And took it to like a comedy Facebook group or something like that. It only takes a second where some random, like, I don't know, man, like somebody from, I don't know, Second City goes, oh shit, really? We should work with this guy or something. Like something random will just show its face, man. And it's just, that's all.
One of my biggest guests I've had, one of my biggest, I'm not even going to drop his name, but I'm going to say he's been on Joe Rogan. Like so when we were having a conversation after we were done recording, and he was asking me about like people he might know who've been on the podcast. And I told him, and he knew a bunch of the people that I said. And I was like, but I've also interviewed my mom. I've also interviewed my neighbor. Like I've also interviewed my brother, like I care more about like the sincerity in these conversations. I care more about like saying on the record to these people, things that I want to last, you know? And the second I said that to him, and once again, I'm not going to say who it was, but he said to me, "You're the next Joe Rogan." And I was like, "Oh,
this work? Can I play this? Does this work? Does this work? Oh, not that one. Can you hear that?" Yeah.
But when it comes to honestly, dude, like, okay, it looks like I'm a pro wrestler, right? I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I'm a comedian.
Yep. Oh shit! I never considered that.
So those are all things that like should be a job that pops you, and like you're good. But none of those things have popped me. None of.
Dude, it takes a while though, man. Right.
Right. Yeah. 19 years now.
Yeah.
But so. All those things not popping me, and dude, I've worked day job after day job after shitty day job. Like I've been doing HVAC since August last year, right? And like the shittiest weather conditions you can possibly be in, on top of rooftops, carrying big heavy tanks up on these little flimsy ladders, and like risking my life and breathing in asbestos and shit.
Yeah.
And just yesterday I quit. I was like, I'm gonna find something else. Like I can't put myself through this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like before that, like I was well, actually I just got hired at my gym. So I'm gonna start doing part-time work at my gym. And
that makes sense.
And I got hired at a restaurant. So I'm gonna start serving tables. So it's like I'm still going to be busting my ass, but this is the timeline in when I'm also going, well, like if people hear me or see me do comedy and they go, oh, you know, he has a podcast, and they go, oh, they see me acting and they go, oh, you know, he has a podcast. Oh, they see him wrestling. They go, oh, he has a podcast, and he also does comedy and acting and all that feeds into the circle of what so if I go,
got it.
So like I feel like I want everything to feed everything else. So I don't really want to I don't want to focus on what I don't want. I want to focus mostly on all these things have to feed everything else.
Yep.
Because it seems to be to me like the most sincere way of doing it.
Yep.
And I want to absolutely, I want to be an inspiration to myself.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, man. I feel like nobody gets to talk about the struggle enough, man, because you know, we live in a world now where you look at like, I have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, and both of them they're watching YouTube and they're seeing all this stuff. And it's like, they watch these kids who are not much older than them that are driving around Ferraris and stuff. And I had to dig on one of them to show them where this kid started. And this kid's talking about spending a year sleeping in his car, working on his car in the McDonald's parking lot and stuff. And trying to, like, even when we were at our peak, I was driving back and forth to Lansing, Michigan, about 50 miles away, once a week. My wife was 9 months pregnant. We couldn't afford anything. I took out a loan for the equipment that I did get. Not a loan, but I got a credit card that I had no business having, ran it up, never made payments. So I was getting screwed
like Kevin Smith on Clerks.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. Dude, I was doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, you know? But exactly the same thing was like, man, something's got to pop. And I can tell you, we made money off of that show, but it was never quit your day job. It was never FU money. You know what I mean? Right. Mm-hmm. So it was always enough to like, we wanted to go to Atlanta and go do a live show and stuff like that. We always supported things like that. We always rolled it right back in, never profited from it. But man, the payback I got, which I never knew that I was going to see it, was I was introverted. I wouldn't look people in the eye. I wouldn't it's in terms of my career, like I was stuck in a cage and everything was upside down. But getting into this stuff, even though it was about stuff that has nothing to do with my career, like it's hip hop music. People are asking me, are you a rapper guy? No, man, I just love the music. I love talking with my friends and doing the show. And it forced me into situations. If you would have told me I'd be sitting sitting talking to you today, and I would I can't even do this on a screen. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like when we went to Atlanta and there's like a crowd of people and we're sitting on a stage having a conversation and I didn't bat an eyelash at it. Like I still can't public speak well, but like I would have crumbled in fear and with a group of people being around me. And that I feel like was the gift that I didn't even know was a gift, was that part of podcasting. And it still is. And that's why I started that other thing, because I was like, man, I love this medium and I want people to get better. And yeah, I get critical and sometimes I'll be an absolute asshole, man. Like, because I feel like, what's that?
I was going to ask because I didn't listen to any other episodes of your podcast besides the just one review that you did of mine.
Right.
And I don't know what other shows are like. I want to make this is really important to me to not compare myself to other people.
Smart. That's smart.
So I don't want to listen to hear if you like bashed somebody else or if you like gave a shitty thing, a great review. I'm like, like
I know. So, I hear you. Yes.
So I steered away from listening to other ones.
I don't blame you. I didn't even think anybody would listen outside of listening to their own episodes, to be honest. And it's not huge. But it's doing okay. I will say though, man, if you don't mind me telling you, the bar is low. And I'm not trying to be nice because I'm talking to you now. And I'm 100% positive that, like, dude, and it's there's so many people out there that just smack a microphone down. And like, there was one I'm going to put it out there. I don't care, because I feel like I love this medium. I love this stuff so much. And when people, if they're going to submit their show and they sound like they don't give a shit, I'm going to shred. It's not good. I should take inspiration from you and put more positive vibes out into the universe. But I get so angry because it's almost like somebody throwing rocks at my kid. It's like, God, man, why?
So those people are going to be the only ones who listen to the episode.
You're right. You're right.
Like, hey, send me a picture of yourself and I'll shit on your looks.
Well, that's fair, Corey, actually. I'll remember that. But the problem I had is it's clear. Like there was these guys, and I'm not going to say the name of the show, but these guys, they were just like, hey, it's three guys and we get high and we talk about conspiracy theories.
There's a million of those, I'm sure.
Yeah. And also every college kid in the history of college kids, like,
and also like good ones, probably. There's probably good ones like that. Yeah.
But these guys get on a Zoom call and they hit record and they talk. They just talk, and they don't. There's no intro, there's no outro, there's no theme, there's no idea. It's just today we're going to talk about Mickey Mouse. What do you think about Mickey Mouse? Oh, Mickey Mouse. Here, like that's why I'm saying you have something magic, because it's open enough where you have like, God, man, I don't know what it is, dude. Evolving. I love this concept. I really think it's limitless. Like you can do whatever the shit you want. If you decide, guess what? I'm just going to set up a camera at the club and I'm going to do improv. And that's going to be my podcast from now on. You can, because then people go, holy shit. You remember when he used to get on webcams with some jackass who reviewed podcasts? And now here he is doing improv for his podcast, or something. I don't know.
I want to speak to your point you were saying. And then this actually lends right to something I say all the time. And I've said it on this podcast. And if you've heard me say it before, stop me, but please apply anything I ever say. If it applies to something that like is worth it in your life, like to apply this, fucking quote me, don't quote me, just say it. You don't have to give me credit. I don't need it. But when I was a kid, I said, I want to be a stand-up comedian. I wanted to do that real hard. I wanted to be a pro wrestler so hard. Those are the things I always knew I wanted to do. But I didn't know I wanted to be a podcaster because podcasting didn't exist yet.
Right.
Sometimes when you feel aimless and you feel hopeless, maybe the thing that you want the most, maybe the thing that is your like life's passion doesn't exist yet.
Wow.
So like be patient, give yourself some grace and sort of like and sort of like grow inside of maybe the thing I want isn't looking for me because I've decided it doesn't exist.
That's interesting. I'm my 18-year-old, he'd probably kill me when he finds your podcast one day when he's old man.
Right.
But he's actually, so last year sucked. He just graduated this year by the skin of his teeth, and last year sucked. Like last year sucked for all kids.
Why?
And
why? I'm kidding.
I kind of was doing that. I was kind of a dick because I'm like, dude, you only have to go to school like 3 hours a day, dude. What are you worried about? They gave him like a free. The school actually said take a free semester. Mm-hmm. Take a free semester. What?
That doesn't make it better. No, I graduated high school the year 9/11 happened.
Oh,
I can understand what he was going through.
Yeah,
for sure. That sucks.
Yeah,
it really, truly sucks.
And his thing is he gets a lot of pressure not from us, because I didn't go to college, man. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and worked my ass off to get everything I have. And for him, there's a lot of pressure. You got to go to school. You got to have your career figured out. And I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're 18. You don't know anything about the world. You haven't even barely left this town. You don't know anything, man. Like, and he's always looking for direction. And I love that you said that, man. If you don't mind, I'm going to quote you. I will tell him where I heard it. Dude, that is shit, because nobody talks about patience, man. Nobody talks about patience. They don't tell you, maybe it's not here yet. Just do the best you can right now. And when it comes, you'll know.
Well, I'm applying that also to the fact that like my audience isn't big. Yeah. Like my drawing power isn't existent, but like I feel like it will be. Yeah. And right now I'm just doing the work that this is another thing I say all the time. And you can absolutely apply it if it applies, apply it, use it. Quote me if you will, quote me, if you don't, I don't care. Whatever. but like in the bookstore, there's a section that's a multi-billion-dollar section called the self-help section. There is no money made. There is no section called the self-fix section. There is no fix. You have to continue to work on all the things. So like,
wow,
going into like, let's say I'm gonna quote Napoleon Hill. He says, no one can expect to get nothing, or nobody can expect to get something without giving something. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to like, you can't just go, I want this. Oh, I dream of this. This is my goal. I want this to happen, and then do nothing towards making it happen.
Yep.
So get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep working. That's what I plan on doing, and I plan on hopefully impacting people's, like, if not like 3 or 4 people, like just 3 or 4 people's like way they look at how to be patient and have grace with not only like themselves but with their kids and with their families. Like that stuff is really important to me when it comes to. I don't have kids. I don't think I'll ever have them. I'm 37 years old. I've never been married, but I look at myself and I parent myself. I parent my inner child, and as often as I can, I will make sure I chat and check in with the 15-year-old version of me and talk about how proud I hope he is.
Awesome, man.
How proud I hope he is of who I've become, because I know this kind of chilled me up a little bit. I know if I would see who I am now, I'd want to be me. I'd love it. And I looked at people like me when I was 15 and I went, that's what a fucking man is. And I didn't know that. I didn't have my dad. I didn't have somebody to teach me what a man is. But if I saw me, I'd be inspired. So I have to check in with my 15-year-old self and say, hope I'm continuing to make you proud. I hope I'm continuing to live a life that is an example to you and people like you. And I'm so when it comes to, and this is one of the biggest fights I've ever had with anybody recently. I had a fight with somebody where they talked to me about like regrets, and they talked to me about like, because I said I don't have regrets. Sure, I have things I've done that I don't feel the best about, or mistakes I've made that suck that I made them. But those decisions and mistakes all led me to exactly who I am right now, and I am the most pleased with who I am right now than I've ever been. So I don't live in regret. So if you're going to bring up a mistake I made and say, tell me you don't regret that, or the fact that, like, I didn't have a life plan. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a career. I just stuck my eggs all in the basket of pro wrestling being what was going to like sustain me for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, that was probably dumb, but like those struggles, that fight, that work that I've done give me the integrity to, when the stakes are raised and it means something more, that I'll have the life experience to handle it more. So I'm grateful for my shit.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. I don't blame you one bit, man. Honestly, I love that. I love that taking that angle of it too, where you just listen, man, this is what created me. This is what created me, like it or not.
Yeah. So they're just carving that marble off.
Yeah, and that's talent, buddy. Like that's straight talent, not talent. Not talent. I don't know what I'm looking for. It's admirable that you have the ability to have the awareness to look at it that way, because some of us, like I tend to be very hard on myself and have a ton of regrets. I wish, and I'm practicing, I'm getting better. I wish I didn't wait so long just to learn to practice self-awareness and go, what are you doing to yourself right now? Stop doing that. I love that idea of checking in with my younger self. Like, are you a dick? Are you a dick right now, man? Shit. Damn, Corey.
Another thing I say all the time, and I've said it a million times on the podcast. If you heard it a million times, you'll hear it another time. Like the where was I going with that? I lost it. So yeah, so I've said that a million times on the show. I've lost it. I don't know what the point was.
I like that idea, man. I do like that idea. God, I've never really considered thinking about things that way though, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm also like, when it does come to me as a kid saying like, I want to be a pro wrestler, I want to be a comedian, and whatever comes, like I know whatever it is, I absolutely know I want to live a life that's not unhappy.
Right.
I will not see a future for myself where happiness isn't very tied into where I am. So whether it's just my joy or it's the joy that I help other people find for themselves, joy is that's like I love to take the word enjoy yourself and turn the E into an I and be in joy.
Oh, I love it.
So that's steal that, use it.
Can I ask you a question about this is gonna be weird. I don't mean to get too heady. I don't know how heady your show gets. I've listened to several episodes. I don't know if it gets this deep.
Oh, dude, deep end. Deep end is
okay.
is fully open.
Okay, so how have you found? How do you know where it is? Like, I mean, there's times where I'll think back on memories, you know, and be like, man, that was awesome. Man, that was a great. That was a happy time. But do you ever reach a point where you go, do I even know what happiness is? Like, have I reached the pinnacle of happiness to have the proper gauge, or am I just living shitty and have no clue what true happiness is? You know what I mean? Like, how do you establish that? How do you get your head around like, oh, there it is? Like,
I can answer that.
Oh, dude.
I can answer that all the way.
Already my favorite conversation of the year.
I can answer that all the way because I know there's always more. There's always more. So, like, your success isn't my failure. So I will encourage you to be successful. Right. I will encourage you to be happy. So you being happy doesn't take away from my happy. There's a poster that I have on my room on my wall in my room that says, it's a quote from Buddha, and it says, 1 million candles can be lit from the flame of one candle, and that candle's life doesn't change at all. Like that flame doesn't diminish.
Wow. Okay. So
kindness never decreases from being spread out.
Okay.
So if I and I'll apply this too. Like, I have a friend of mine who was like really, really hard up on the fact that somebody stole. He's a comedian. Somebody stole one of his bits. Somebody stole one of his jokes. And the way I looked at it, and the way I said it, which it hasn't happened to me, so I can only take it from my perspective. But excuse me, but I know I got a whole book of jokes. I'll always write more jokes. Like, let him have that one. If he needs that because he can't write his own new shit, let him have it. Write new jokes.
Yep.
Like, that's the way I don't. I mean, you can steal my jokes if you want to, but just don't be on the same gig as me.
Yeah.
And later on, if we're on the same gig, most likely people will know that was my joke.
So is that what it is? You find happiness in basically in giving and being kind.
Kind of, but it's a self-kindness as well. So it's not. It's also part of that effort to discontinue comparing yourself to others, because I have probably a dozen friends who are in the WWE right now, who are fucking world famous people who would never respond to a text of mine, like, or even in the other like major companies, and I have like major comedians who I'm friends with who wouldn't respond to me. Like, it's what do I bring to the table, and that comes back to relationships. Like, what purpose do I serve in us having a relationship with each other if I can't further your career any further than it already is? And I can't. It's like I have to go. Well, like, I know I'm me, sincerely and genuinely me, and I'm happy in that. I'm changing the E to an I.
Right. I mean, I think oh man, there's this guy I know. His name. Yeah, I'm not going to say his name. There's this guy I know. We'll call him Charles. And
edit that out. Edit that out. Hey, Steve, edit that out.
and he actually didn't really have anything other than just being a nice guy, and he would hang out with this dude from an NFL team, and what he would do is he just hang out with people, and he got to the point where he was surrounded by celebrities, and nobody knew who this guy Charles is. Like he kills it. The problem is, like, we're talking about a guy where I can't even, man, I don't want to get in trouble for saying stuff because if you know, whatever. But
we'll just change the names.
Yeah,
change the names and just have it be be like, oh, he was hanging out with Kanye West, and then like just
he was hanging out with
take creative liberties.
He was hanging out with an NFL star who at the time I think was married to Smim Smarmashmian.
Okay. So, I mean, like I said, you could change the names, not alter the names. Hanging out with somebody who's famous on the level of.
Well, you said Kanye, which is funny. It's funny that parallel there.
Yeah. But the synchronicity is all. Yeah, it's perfect.
So my brother-in-law calls him. He's like, calls up. He says, "Hey, give me a call." He calls him, and she answered the phone. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "Charles, it's for you." And he's like, "You just talked to, right?" And that he was always in that, like in social, all this stuff. He had everything in him to take advantage of everything around all these people. And they probably would have looked out for him. They've always taken him to the parties and stuff. One of the most unhappy guys I've ever known. Surrounded by it. And he was like, I wish I had a career. I wish I had an idea of who I am, but like everything's tied up in these people and trying to take advantage of this situation that I can't. He's probably 40 at this point, and he's just now coming around to digging into that because he's given up so much to just taking selfies with celebrities. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like I don't know. I just feel like
he got lost in the sauce.
Yeah, man. I feel like I like your take on it, where it's just like, hey, man, if I'm gonna reach out to you and you're not gonna like have a relationship with me because I don't serve, like I'm not gonna help further your career or something like that. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's better we don't chat, man, because it's gonna be a happy friendship.
I don't take it personally at all.
Yeah, you can't.
And it came back, and it probably started around the time I started doing this podcast, or it maybe even started when I started doing Wrestle Rock, because like people would agree to be a guest, and then they'd cancel last minute, and I'd have to go like, it's no reflection on me, it's them. They're selfish. They're living their life, and that's the same thing. I don't know if you know about if you listened enough to hear me ever talk, which the people who are listening are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk about it. But in 2011, it's about to be 10 years since in 2011, I had a near-death experience where I took a grand mal seizure while I was in the shower. The shower curtain wrapped around my head, and I was suffocating, and I almost died. My mom saved my life. Cool. Then I had to have brain surgery, like 3 weeks later, and I had to be out of the ring. I was out of the ring for 13 months. I came right back. But
wow, Corey, Jesus, man.
So I'm breezing over it. Just a bit, just only because I know a lot of people have already heard me tell this story, and I don't want to like overstate the story, but I had to go and think about how everybody else, like, I was in the hospital, and like all these people like knew I was in the hospital and didn't call me and didn't text me, didn't visit me. Like my dad didn't visit me. Like that was something that I at the time was probably not taken as personally as my mom was taking it very personally, that dad didn't visit me. And I was like, he's living life. He's got shit going on. and then like later on when I was doing a promo at a wrestling show, like where, you know, I was actually getting paid like as if I was wrestling, which isn't a lot. Let's be honest. wrestling
I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
Indie wrestling paydays are like dog shit, but $20, $30, it's like, whatever. It's like I was doing a promo at a wrestling show where I talked about how my doctor was telling me, because I approach every wrestling show, every comedy show, everything I've ever do. I always approach it as the people who are checking it out. This might be the first time they've ever been here. This might be the first time they've ever seen me. This might be the first time they've ever heard me speak. So I was like, hey, the reason I'm not wrestling in the show, for everybody, if this is your first time checking it out, aren't familiar, I had this brain surgery, blah, 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 blah. And the doctor said I'd come back. Over by the merchandise table where my tag team partner's wife was sitting, one of the biggest fans, one of the most, he helped set up. He was one of the biggest fans of the show. He looked at her and he's like, Corey needs to stop talking about this shit. Because
wow.
And I'm like, you didn't think that was going to get back to me, bro? But I also had to look at it from his perspective. Yeah, maybe people are sick of hearing me talk about it. Everybody else has to have their own life. Everybody has their own drama. So everybody's got their own struggles. I don't take it as personally as I guess I could have or should have. And that was a part of my evolving.
I mean, does he have a tattoo on his arm? And what does that tattoo represent? And every time somebody asks, does he talk shit about whatever that tattoo? I mean, just saying, everybody's got their own things, man.
Right. Well, that guy. I mean, that guy was. I've never talked about him publicly. Yeah. But that dude's personal life sucked dick. His daughter was dying of some shit. I don't know. And I never showed up to any of those benefits because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But it's no reflection on me or my worth, which I think at that time I was probably like, oh, what? When she told him that, when she told my tag partner about that, and he told me, I was like, oh shit. Oh
yeah.
I guess I'm really not shit.
I mean,
somebody who's my biggest fan telling me I better shut up about it.
No, I think it's I think it's smart that you observed that he has his own, that's his problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just talked with my wife about this yesterday. I tend to be very binary. I'm snappy. Clearly I sit here and judge people on my podcast, my little podcast, judging people like a dick. But it's called for the people listening, it's called Judge One Listen. But I was talking to her and I was like, sometimes I'll be down here and I'm in a basement. I'm sitting here working, and all I want to do when somebody comes walking in is I want to go, just fuck off, and them go, okay, cool, and walk away, and me be able to go upstairs and go, hey, sorry about telling you to fuck up. No, it's fine. You want some dinner or something like that? You know, in my head, it's like, man, that'd be so great. And then I took a step back and went, well, first of all, that's very selfish. But the other piece of that was, why do I get good feeling out of it? Why can't it be, I'm busy, can we talk in a minute? And the reason is because when I'm trying to take it out on somebody, it's my problem. It's my problem that I want them to deal with me telling them. It was like, oh man, wow, that's lame. That's my own problem. And I think that there's so many cases of that where people will, and I take everything personal, man. It's funny that I'm on this show and you should see the emails I get, people just ripping me.
You're road raging at life.
Yeah. And I get people just shred me. Oh, you're such a dick and whatever. And which is fine. It's expected. I have chilled out a bit. Sometimes I'll catch myself, but I think it's interesting because it's like, wow, why am I so salty at people sometimes? Because I take it, it's my problem that I took personal. So when somebody does a shitty podcast or somebody just drops a microphone and doesn't put any thought into it, I'm just, man, you dicks, and just shred them. And then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have really did that. because that's me being angry because I think they're throwing rocks at my kid. I took it personal. Well, that's interesting.
Let me relate if I can.
Yeah.
So I've given the majority of my life to the pro wrestling business, right? The pro wrestling business hasn't given me much back, but I've given a lot of my life to pro wrestling. So, from the time I was 14 years old, I've never not been in a ring. 13 months was the longest amount of time I'd ever not been in a ring since I'm 14 years old.
Wow.
And someone, and if you can easily dismiss wrestling, or you can disrespect wrestling by saying it's fake, then I won't now, but I used to go, you're basically telling me that everything I love, everything I represent, everything I am is also fake. Fuck you. I got no time for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to take my own personality. I had to taking that personally away from myself, because wrestling is stupid. Wrestling's corny. Like, it's not for everybody. So it's like if somebody goes, "Hey, dude, want to come over to my house and watch a NASCAR race?" No, not at all. Like,
exactly. There it is. There you go.
Right.
Literally people driving machines in a circle, man. Like anybody, you can shit on any sport. You can shit on any sport.
Right. If you want to, dude, I've learned from wrestling so many things that I apply to every aspect of my life that have been so valuable. So when I say it hasn't given me a lot, it's given me so much. So I can't claim that it owes me anything, because it doesn't. Wrestling's been along way before I was ever alive, and it's going to be around way longer after I'm gone. So I'm just contributing to what I can contribute whilst I can, which is, from, let's say, 2002 to, at this point, 2021, and maybe another 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
who knows? But I'm gonna make my mark. I'm gonna have because I also know, and I make this super important thing to me, is when I have a match in front of fans, if maybe the tons of, like, maybe the world doesn't see it, but those couple hundred people might see it, and that'll be a memory for them.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to shows when I was a kid, and like seeing those names and thinking those people were a big deal, and then like growing up and being able to work with them and being like, "Hey man, I used to see you on shows when I was a kid." And now people do that to me. And
it's awesome.
It's like, oh, okay. So like, I had a match recently where me and this kid we were having a chat for a while, and he's like, can I just say something? And I hope this doesn't weird you out or anything, but like, I just got done watching all your stuff from like 2003, 2004, like all that era. Like, so getting to work with you is an immense honor for me. And I was like, oh, well, like, no one's ever told me that something I am doing is an immense honor to them.
Yeah.
But that makes me go like, all right, all the times I feel like I ain't shit, all the times I feel humbled by the fact that my podcast is trees falling in the woods. Like, it's not. It's like people feel like me giving them my effort and my time is an immense honor sometimes. Like, that feeds into that ego and that legacy and that look at me hole that I need to fill.
Yeah. Oh man, Corey, geez. What the hell, man? Dude, I mean, that's very much a parallel. Like, that's everything. That's everything. God, I haven't had that moment, but dude, that is huge. I mean, what do you do with that?
Right. Yeah. Like,
are you still wrestling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, man.
So my entire adulthood, I've been in this business.
Wow.
And I haven't made a name for. Well, sure, I've made a name for myself among my peers and some of the local fans, but like, when it comes to like on a global scale or national level, not really. Like some people know who I am. And like you said, you didn't know.
You Google you, and it's like, oh shit! I got instantly intimidated, man. I was nervous to come on because, dude, you got an IMDb profile, man. You've done things, man.
Yeah, it's all like that circle I was telling you about. It's all part of that circle.
Yeah, dude. It was like, again, it keeps coming back to. I still think, God, man, you are on. I wish I could somehow. I can't define. You're onto something, man. You're onto something. You don't make any sense, and I love it. Because it just, I don't know, man. I think it's awesome. I think you're. It's only a matter of time, Corey. Honestly, I think it's only a matter of time, buddy.
I appreciate you, Mac. I really do. I want to give you this opportunity. I'm going to just do a couple more things, and then I'll send you off the hot dog and a handshake right off into the sunset. So firstly, I want to give you the opportunity because first, a lot of the things I've said to you and the things and how important it is that you've given me any of this time, especially this time after the fact that you've already invested the time to feature me on your show. But that you've given me this time is so valuable to me. It's so important to me, and I'm so grateful. And I hope not there isn't a second that goes by that you don't understand how grateful I am that you've invested this much in me. So thank you. I'm looking forward to us being friends. I'm very much looking forward to what we can do to help each other. I love being a resource for people. Yeah. So if there's any moment in your life, and I'm going to make sure I say this, and I don't want it to be not like disingenuous or non-personal, because I absolutely want it to apply to you, but I want it to apply to anybody who's listening to this, who's watching me, to know that I'm your friend. If you ever feel like there's a moment where you just need a friend, judgment-free conversation, my line's always open. So you can reach out to me. I'll reach right back out to you. Like I'm a person. I'm absolutely a human who exists, and I'm not too busy to chat with my friends and my fans. The people who listen to my show are some of my favorite people I've ever met in my life. Some of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had with people are with people who've checked out the show and told me what they thought of it. Then that's a friend of mine is on a really big podcast. His podcast is big, and people who listen to it daily and are obsessed with it.
It's Mark Maron, isn't it?
No. No, but he's a comedian, and he was doing a show in Philly, and he invited me to come. So I came to the show, and we're sitting after the show hanging out, and somebody comes up to him and they go, "Dude, I listen every day." And he was like, "Thanks, bud." And then signed his thing and he left. But I'm like, if that was me, if somebody says they listen to me every day, I do nothing but want to know who they are and why and what they like the most, what they dislike. Like, I can't ever have a moment where it's like somebody goes, "Hey, I like what you do," and I go, "Thanks, bud." Like, I can't.
Maybe he just hears it so much he's a little calloused, you know.
Right. I don't have that callus yet. I have calluses on my hands, but not on my ego. That doesn't exist yet. but that all being said, because how important it is on the record stuff, like you said, if your son listens back to this in 20 years or something, these messages might mean something cool. Or if my kids listen to it, if I ever have kids, if that ever is a thing, they'll be able to hear the sincerity. And anybody listening who's listening because they know you're on it and they're a fan of yours knows that I mean what I say. Everything I'm saying, I'm not a character. I'm absolute. The most character thing about me is that my shoot name isn't this. That's not. It's a name that I made up for marketing purposes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, now I need to go dig it. No, I'm just messing.
No, my real name is James. My birth name. But I've made Corey something that's it's like there's no way. And this is another thing about the big fight I had. It was like, this shit as much as I'm already in my head minimalizing it, like in my heart it's not minimalized, but in my head it's minimalized by how not big of a deal it is, how it's not that big of a deal still. But I'll have a conversation with somebody who I think's my friend, and they're minimalizing it even more than I was doing in my head. And then I'll be like, yeah, you know what? Get out of my life. I don't need people like you. My circle needs to be people who believe and trust that I'm sure of who I am and what I'm doing. So if it offends you that most people call me Corey and not James, it offends you and it doesn't offend me, that's you. That's a you problem.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right. So get out of my life, dude. I'm fine with it. Like, so
I know people who use their middle name instead of their first name.
Right.
So it's if the government put it on a piece of paper, it's more important than
somehow my identity is your crisis.
Yeah.
That should never be the case.
I love it. It's true.
So I want to give you the opportunity to ask me anything you want to ask me or say anything you want to say to me, because I know you've already said tons of stuff. You've already asked me tons of stuff. That's the way our conversation has kind of gone. But this right now is you're on the record moment to say anything you want to say to me in this 2021 version of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I would like to talk about, I would like to tell you about this idea that I forget a lot, and I just remembered it in this moment, that the advice that was handed down to me, which was, and I'm handing it to you just because you're younger than I am. You're like way younger than I am, but
by appearances, it doesn't seem that.
I appreciate it, dude. Not that, the advice I was given that I hold on to very strongly is, on the highway of life, what he said is, everybody's looking for a big billboard to tell them this is the way, this is the way, this is the way. And he says what they're missing is the little signs that are on the side of the road that say, giving you little hints. Hey, what about this? It's those things that you go, huh? And the reason that we got to that conversation was, I asked him, how did you get this successful? You're insanely successful, vacation homes, everything that a lot of us aspire to have one day, and, like 6 cars, happy, has everything. And he said, I got here from paying attention to the little signs on the highway of life. Do not wait for the lights and the big pictures and the neon signs. You want to look for the little ones. It's the ones that grab your heartstrings, and you go, I'm nervous. And he's like, that's the one you go to. That's the one you run to. Go to that. And that, dude, I try to share that with as many people as I know, because I followed that advice, and it has never, ever, ever steered me wrong. Ever. I've never regretted it. And I have lots of regrets.
Well, I hope you can be inspired by me to have less of them.
Yeah, I am, man. Honestly, I'm inspired by this whole conversation. I can't wait to go back and listen to it again, because, dude, you're one of the most genuine people I've ever talked to for only knowing you for an hour.
Well, this is what I find fascinating, and I love it. And this is really important to me to, like, dude, this is the most we've ever talked with each other.
Yeah.
And like, this is more than I've talked to most people I know.
Same here.
Like that's what's important about having this platform.
Mm-hmm.
What's important to me about having this platform is to have conversations with people, like deep shit that you wouldn't have the time to sit down and talk to somebody and be like, oh, well, I'm just checking out at the grocery store. I'm not going to talk to you about your life and dreams and like your goals and where you came from and what you learned. Like, oh, what brought you to this bag boy state that you're in?
Actually, can I ask you two quick questions?
Yeah.
Why do you use the clapperboard?
Mm-hmm.
And then why do you play the drum at the beginning?
Okay. I will absolutely answer these questions. I feel like I've talked about it a billion times on the podcast. So if anybody listening has heard me say this,
I'm sorry to anybody that this is.
so the story behind me using the drum. Okay, so one. Do you know who Pete Holmes is, right?
No.
Pete Holmes is my favorite podcast is called You Made It Weird. It's Pete Holmes' podcast, and he at one point had a late night talk show that was directly after Conan O'Brien on TBS.
Okay.
And when he first got the gig, Conan O'Brien told him the story. He was like, "Hey man, you just keep hitting your triangle, like your instrument. You keep hitting your triangle. One day someone will be like, wow, do you hear that ringing? Do you hear that?" And so I was like, that's about the consistency. So I took it and I applied it to this drum. So as long as every show happens to have this consistency, this represents the consistency. And also I say, I quote this part. You ever see Pocahontas?
Yes.
The song "Steady as the Beating Drum."
Yep.
That's
dude.
It's part of my heartbeat. That my heart beats steady as the beating drum, and my heart and emotions are tied to these moments.
Wow, man.
And
that's oh my God, Corey. No, I mean what's fascinating. Oh, I keep saying this, but that was when you started doing that. I remember clearly when I was reviewing, I was going, "What the hell is he playing a drum?" And I couldn't let go of it. Like that was the thing that really stuck. It was like, what does he do? And then the other thing was like, one of my favorite ones. You went, that sucked. Hold on. And then you redid it again. Yes, dude,
so the reason behind the clapperboard, I don't think I've talked about it on the show. Maybe I have, but during quarantine, it became more of a visual media.
Oh, okay.
Like, it became more of a like the show became like I had to upgrade to the StreamYard and make the art all something. And that I'm an actor, I'm an actor and a filmmaker. Yeah. So I have a couple of slate boards around, and I was like, oh, you know what? This would be something I've never seen another podcast do.
Yeah.
So if I do this as for my visual element of it, it just would be something that sets me apart from anything I've ever seen or done. So,
Corey, it's like oh man, I'm a huge fan. I will be a huge fan forever. I love like you're holding it and you kind of peek over it
just to make sure it looks right.
And then you put it aside, and then as soon as you get your guest on, your face lights up. And then you start doing the drum, dude. I'm telling you, man, I can't wait to see where you go from here. I can't wait to see you evolve, man.
Gratitude to the Most High.
Huge fan.
Yeah. So 2 more things.
Yeah.
And then hot dog and handshake.
I'm sorry, we're going long. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I do a segment. I don't know if you've heard it, but I do a segment every show where I call it audio time travel. So specifically talking about what we were just talking about. So your kids stumble across this recording in 2041. And they want to know like the best stuff that is like the juice of who their dad actually is. They want to know like a message specifically for them. So in this audio time travel, this recording, the next things you say are being heard in 2041 by the people who love you the most.
That's a lot of pressure. And I've heard you do this on your past episodes, and I told myself I was going to be prepared, and I'm trying not to get emotional, but I'm not prepared now. I hope that you are, geez, man. Wow, Corey, what the hell, man? It's advice that I want to give my kids.
Anything you want to say? Any message?
I would say be patient. Be patient. Be patient. Work hard and put good out into the world the best you can, and it all comes back. It always comes back. Try to be positive. be optimistic. That's the best. I mean, that's the best thing I can give is that I've learned over the years is trying to stay as positive as you can and try to be helpful, work hard, and for the love of God, be patient. Be patient. Patience is so powerful. Yeah. I'm not trying not to go too heady with it, man, but yeah.
No limits, dude.
Yeah.
This is your time, really.
I appreciate it.
And
I may want to come back and redo that in the future after I have more time to really dig in on that, because that man, whew,
Mac, dude,
that messes with me, Corey.
open invite. Anytime you ever want to do another one of these, I've had so many repeat guests. Like I told you in the beginning, the people who listen to the podcast most are the people who've been on the podcast. So the way I get the most listeners I get are people who I go, all right, before we record our episode, go back and listen to some and just get a feel for the vibe or whatever. And people are like, oh, well, I'm a fan now. Like,
yep.
Like, I'm sure there's so many people going, listen to my podcast, listen to my podcast, listen to my podcast. And people are bombarded by that. So as far as what I'm doing, I like when I do get to the call to action stuff, I just feel like I make this comparison. Like, I was watching this YouTube documentary that was all about revealing the truth about big conspiracy theory, revealing blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it, the guy was like, if you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe. So and it was like, oh man, you weren't trying to give us truth. You were just trying to get subscribers, you motherfucker.
Yeah. It just became a transaction.
Yeah. It's just, I don't want to believe anything you just said to me, man. You insincere piece of shit. So,
but you have to, right? Because ultimately, what are you trying to do? You're trying to spread the word, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I want this to be a thing that spreads out. I want people to feel its strength and power and effort and sincerity, and love and patience. Like you just said, patience is the important thing. So, it comes with self-kindness, self-love, self-patience. Grace is really important.
Oh my God. And forgive yourself.
Yes.
Forgive yourself. Nobody forgives themselves.
Well, you just said about how many regrets you have.
Yeah.
Ooh. So take your own fucking advice.
Okay. Fair enough. I didn't even think this was going to be a therapy session, Corey, but it very much was. And I appreciate it, man.
Good.
Seriously. I mean that.
So the way I close out every show is I tell you that hypothetically, I've gifted you this show. Now, this has been the first episode of your brand new podcast, Evolving with Mack. And in a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, you're going to wrap this up in a pretty bow. And the most important takeaways and the most condensed, I don't know, the most thoughtful way to wrap it up. And then at the end of it, just to keep it silly, do the best impression that you have and say whatever you want to say that's in that impression.
Oh, shit.
And how also
how did I not catch this before? Go ahead.
I was going to say also, like, in that, how can people be inspired to be a better version of themselves?
Whew, man, that's a lot, Corey.
Sorry, not sorry.
There's so much pressure. Okay. In a Jerry Springer kind of final thought way. You might have to check off the boxes with me because I'm also ADD, so I may forget.
Hey, Steve, cut that part out.
I appreciate you, man. I had a great time today. I had a great time. This did not go how I thought it was going to go. Like I honestly thought that we were going to get into discussions about just podcasting and stuff like that. And I love that it went into personal and we talked about God, man, we talked about career. We talked about growth. We talked about self-love. Man, I love this show more now after talking to you, more than even just listening to it, man. So absolute pleasure. I had a blast on this show. The other piece, what were the other two? Sorry.
How do you evolve to a better version of yourself? How are you inspired?
How am I
not you specifically, but what advice could you give to somebody else to be inspired to be a better version of themselves? I mean, you're probably going to say the same thing you said to the audio time travel.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, honestly, I'd take from a page from the book of you, where, I feel I've never really honestly, I wouldn't have had an answer really to this previous to today. Because I tend to be like, I don't think I would have an answer previous today, outside of, because I'm still learning self-awareness myself. Like, I think we always should be working through that. But this idea of reaching in and grabbing a younger version of yourself and saying, hey, how do you feel about you, man? That honestly, man, that resonates with me pretty heavy, Corey. Like, I would take that. If you don't mind, I would leverage that advice. And that feels like the most powerful thing in the moment. Off the top of my head, damn, it's tough, man. That's a tough one.
Dude, I hope to be something like, dude, use this stuff. If you want to talk to yourself like that, your younger self, and if you want to tell other people to do that too, do it.
Well, I find myself searching for the right answer. And this is a problem that I have personally, is that I'm always, how's the right way to answer? There is no right way to answer this question.
Redefine what right is.
Yeah. And that's where this is, dude, you've uncovered right here just now a huge insecurity. I'm clearly uncomfortable trying to think through this, just because I don't do it enough. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? So,
well, you don't have chats like this with people very often.
No, I don't.
So maybe start doing that. Maybe start having chat. This is a good way to make friends, man. I mean, I've made some amazing friends doing this. So,
dude, like, I've had friends for 12 years that I haven't talked this deep about stuff with. So I appreciate you, man. Yes. I ain't going nowhere if you ain't going nowhere, buddy.
Yeah, dude, I'm your friend for sure. There's no doubt about it. Let's the funny thing is, one of my closest friends is actually somebody who also lives in Michigan, who is a listener of this show and became a fan. Like, I became a fan of his podcast. He became a fan of my podcast. Shout out to Dan Webb. If, like, when you were reviewing, you were talking about our episode.
Oh, really?
When you reviewed my show.
Okay. So, that was probably 20 episodes ago.
Yeah. Shout out to Webslinger25 _ on TikTok.
Dan Webb. Did he say what city he's in?
He's close to Grand Rapids.
Oh yeah, he's a couple hours away. Okay.
Dang it. So I'm going to hang out with him.
Okay.
So we might take a trip, make a trip down and hang out with you.
Yeah, man. Let me know. Seriously, that'd be fun.
Awesome. What's the comedy scene like around there?
I've been to a handful. I mean, Ann Arbor is the place to go, and then a city called Royal Oak. There's a place called Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle that always has like the bigger
castle.
It's not a castle. Oh, maybe you belong there. It's a good venue, man. They have some pretty good acts there, but I don't know what the scene's like. I've been to stand-up comedy shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe we're asking the wrong questions to the wrong people.
Yeah.
But if What's your best impression that you've got?
Oh, impression? Dude, do I have an impression? I mean, my wife, she laughs when I do an Irishman, but that's almost mean.
Okay, well, do an Irishman saying
it's more of a Lucky from Lucky Charms.
Okay. Pay attention to the small signs.
Oh, pay attention to the small signs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to make sure to mention, if this is your first time checking out Evolving with Corey Castle, if it's on YouTube, make sure you comment below so that I know you exist. Make sure, if it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you maybe go back and check out the other 250 some.
A lot. Do it.
So do it. Tell me if you like it. I'm here. I'm a real person. I'll interact with you. Thanks so much for spending the currency of your effort and time with listening in to me and J Mack chat. Also, be kinder to yourself. Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving.